Okay, this is the video for looking at how to do CPTs in the skin. I want to go over three main concepts. One is biopsies, two is excision, and three is closures or repairs. First, with biopsies, it's pretty simple. Anytime you have an excision, the biopsy is already included in it. So a lot of times you'll see physicians trying to code both the excision and the biopsy. You do not need to do that. You would code only the excision, and then the biopsy is included in the excision code. Times when you would use the biopsy, there's a type of procedure they use called a punch biopsy, where it removes part of the skin. In those cases you would use a biopsy code for certain. But do not use the biopsy codes if there's an excision involved. With excisions, the big thing to know is the concept of margins, benign versus malignant, and then what an excision includes and does not include. First of all, the difference between benign versus malignant. When you are coding it, the official guidelines say that you are to take whatever the physician's best medical impression is as to whether the lesion is benign or malignant. You don't have to have a pathology report back from the pathologist that says whether it is benign or malignant. It's just the physician's best clinical impression. If he's wrong, then you would rebill it. And that is the official word from AMA on how to do that. Some physicians don't like that, but it is what it is. The second thing to know about is margins. So I'm going to use my state-of-the-art whiteboard here. If I have a lesion here, and then we'll just make it kind of this brownish color. Okay, when a physician goes in to actually take it, what he will do is he will cut around it. Okay, just like this. Okay, or close approximation. What you're going to measure as a coder when you determine the size of a lesion is you take the lesion at its widest size, so that say this is 1 centimeter, and then you're going to take the narrowest margin. So you see how here on the top and the bottom it's wide? I would not take that. I would take the side here and the side here and say this is a 1/2 centimeter and this is a 1/2 centimeter. So the total size would be 2 centimeters. Now, oftentimes when physicians report it in their notes, they already know this, and so they will actually give the total size of the lesion that was excised. Now, what's included in an excision? There are two things. One we already went over, and that's biopsies. The second is the repair. Simple repairs are often included in the excision. Well, they always are. So if somebody cuts this out of the skin to get this lesion out and then stitches it up, then that is included in the excision code. Now, talking about repairs and closures, there are some questions on the forum about that. So there are three things that you need to know for a closure. One is obviously the site. Where is it? Number two is the size, which we just went over, which would be the size of the actual repair itself. And then you need to know whether it's simple or complex. What constitutes simple and complex? Well, let's say that we've got our dermis layer here, and then we've got our subdermis, or subcutaneous, I can't remember which it is, second layer, and then we've got our dermis down here, or subdermis layer. Okay, so here's what they're talking about. If I'm going to be dealing with a single layer closure, so if I am running the silk thread through this top layer, that is what's called a single layer closure, or what's known as a simple repair. Now, there's another thing which is more complicated for deeper cuts and for fissures, is that you would do what's called a double layer closure or a complex, where you would basically stitch this lower layer together and then you would go through and stitch the upper layer. And that's the difference between simple and complex. It has to do with the number of layers that are stitched together. If you have any questions, post them on the forum or email me directly. I hope that helps, and I will talk to you next time.